Oh, nah, what's going on with it? My name is Timmy with the King Strategy, where we focus on the fundamentals of manhood. We focus on the do's and don'ts of manhood. And I'm here with my boy, Melvin. What's going on with it? How you doing?
How you doing, Tim? I'm glad to be here, working with you, talking with you about the King Strategy, and I look forward to having a great conversation.
Let's do it
Yes,
then,
sir.
man.
Yes, sir.
So over the past year, 2019 closed, we are in the year 2020.
Yes.
Man, how was 2019 for you?
2019 was not easy, but it was a character developing year.
Right.
And I went through a lot of hardships, but I'm glad I went through it because it'll make me appreciate it until I know what's coming in 2020. Sometimes we can't appreciate the good things until we've gone through some hard things.
Right.
You know, so I'm excited for what 2020 has to come.
I feel you on that. Same thing for me. It did a lot of character building in 2019. I learned a lot about myself. I learned the do's and don'ts of myself when it came to setting boundaries. I didn't have no boundaries in my life, and I want guys to know that you can advocate for yourself by allowing yourself to have boundaries. Nothing wrong with saying no. Nothing wrong with saying yes and standing up for yourself. So I'm here to show guys that boy said on Toy Story, you have a friend in me.
There you go. 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 And just to kind of piggyback off what you're saying as far as boundaries, not only boundaries for what you will or will not accept from other people,
right,
but boundaries from what you will not accept from yourself.
That's true. I will say that, you know, when I'm originally from New Orleans, Louisiana. You know, right now we located in Sacramento, California.
Yes,
I've been here for a year, you know, and I learned a lot. It was a big transition from living in the South coming over here to the West.
Right.
And y'all motto out here is no worries.
Right. Or rather, when you have worries, how do you go about handling that in a healthy way?
Well, honestly, you have to lay some ground rules out for your life, because that's what I had to do. And when I tell you, coming to California, it was a total culture shock for me.
Right.
And I literally had to reevaluate my life because the way I lived in New Orleans, I couldn't live in California the same way. You know, I was back into a new relationship. I was back into a whole new frame of life that I never lived. You know, so long story short, I had to develop different fundamentals for myself. I mean, when I tell you I had to like almost strip my body down to the skeleton and start to rebrand myself and rebuild myself.
Really?
And I want a lot of guys to know that that's okay. Sometime in life you have to go backwards to go forward.
Right.
So for me, I literally had to go backwards. When I say go backwards, I mean go backwards almost to birth, because everything that I learned from childhood up until this point of last year was a lie. You know, it was a fallacy.
Right.
And I want guys to break the chain of hopelessness and helplessness.
Can you go into some of those things when you say that they were lies?
Basically, how to stand up for myself, how to love myself when it came to what type of woman I should be with, what type of job I should have, how much money I should have, how should I value myself, how should I conduct my household. Perfect example. I always thought a man, if you made money, you paid all the bills, you was the man of the house.
Right.
Period. In every type of way.
Right.
That's a fallacy. That's a lie.
Right.
You know, because just because you make the most amount of money, that doesn't mean you need to have power and dominion over your mate. You know, so everything that I learned was a lie. So I had to lose it all to understand that I was my worst enemy.
Right, right. That reminds me of I saw someone post on Instagram and said that there's a difference between being a boss and being a leader.
Right.
So a lot of us glorify this idea of being a boss instead of what we should be, which is being a leader. Because bosses, they just tell what to do instead of guide. They reprimand instead of encourage.
Right.
Right. So I'm not mad at the idea of one of the categories of masculinity being able to provide for your family, but that can't be all of it. Right. And so if you're basing all of your masculinity just on your ability to provide, then you're missing love, you're missing educate, you're missing protect, you're missing caring, you're missing to comfort when it's time.
Right.
So, you know, I just jot off 6, 7 categories. So you can't just have one and think that you're complete when you're missing 6 others.
You're preaching, because for me, I'm writing a book right now, and for me, I talk about for 4 years of my life, I was making $2,000 a week, and this is after taxes.
Wow, okay.
So I thought I was Lord. I thought I was boss. As long as I was paying bills, nobody could tell me nothing.
Right.
But I was lacking stability. Even though I was able to pay things, I was lacking stability in my life. You know, money don't fix everything.
Right.
And I'm telling you, I had to literally lose it all to understand that, like I said, I was my worst enemy.
Now, what things were unstable?
Knowing how to stand up for myself and saying no, because when you have money, you accessible to things.
Right.
Things that comes easy to you when you can buy things.
Right.
I mean, you can buy literally anything when you have money. So when you're used to hearing the word yes, just because you can say yes to your flesh, I mean, sometimes you're doing harm to yourself.
Right.
You know, so for me, that's what it was. You know, I was doing harm to myself by what's the word I'm looking for? I don't know if I'm allowed to say this on TV, but it's like my flesh. I was pleasuring myself. Let's say that with money.
Right.
I use money as a byproduct to get whatever it was I wanted.
Right. And that sounds like too, like everything that's available to you isn't always good for you.
Exactly.
Do you think to kind of go into for men, do you think that there isn't enough emphasis on taking care of our mental health as men?
What I think, honestly, we are conditioned not to. You know, even when it comes, perfect example. You ever watch the movie Soul Food?
Yes.
The woman in Soul Food died from type 2 diabetes.
Right.
At the funeral and at the repast, they eating the same food that killed
Right.
her.
Learn nothing. Sometimes I love my people, but sometimes we can be the most stubborn people.
Generational hurts.
Right.
Through what we eat, what we watch,
right,
what we idolize, what we worship. And when it comes to manhood, it's the same thing. We taught to chase women from a child. Perfect example. How many times you been a young boy and you 10, 9, 13 years old, and you have grown men coming to you? How many women you got? How many girls you got?
Right.
This narrative is taught.
Right.
You know, so at the end of the day, it's a lot of groundwork that we have to do to develop not only ourselves but the generation behind us of what not to do.
Right.
That's why the motto in 2020 is for men to hold each other accountable and stay committed to your commitment.
Right.
Because it's easy to say something.
Right.
It's hard to stay committed to anything.
Right.
You know.
Right.
So we have to hold each other accountable.
Now, do you think what you plan on going into? Because I've noticed something for those men who are fortunate to find a good woman, who have be in good relationships. It's easy for them to say that. But what do you say to those men who are single or those men who are in bad relationships?
Guys who are in bad relationships are dealing with embattlement. What that means is they're having a battle within themselves and they don't know how to live alone.
Right.
And women go through the same thing. It's called Stockholm Syndrome. A lot of women have infatuations for the abuser. And when it comes to flip that around on men have an infatuation with abusing themselves. Some of them do it self-consciously. Some guys don't know that they're doing it.
Right.
You know, but you fall in love with some, things that do you a disservice and do you harm.
Right.
You know, so it's your job as a man to identify with it, be accountable for it, and do the groundwork to change it.
Right.
Period.
So now what do you tell those men that will tell you, just to kind of play the devil's advocate? But what I'm doing is I'm being successful in my mating and dating strategy. And so I have all these unhealthy mentalities, all these toxic mentalities, but this toxic mentality and the way I'm living is giving me success with ladies. Why should I change it?
Because it's a camouflage suit.
Okay.
It's like sometimes the container could be better than the content.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? Perfect
That's
example.
good, okay.
You out here, you dating a woman. I'm really giving away gold right now.
Go ahead.
You dating a woman on the outside, she look good.
Right.
but in the inside, she can destroy your legacy.
Right.
You know, and it's up to you to identify with that, because if you don't, you are going to live in a perpetual state of disappointment.
Okay.
If you don't heed the signs.
Okay.
You know, so if you can't, my girlfriend says all the time, a guy that can control his loins can control the world.
Okay.
You know, so you need to have some type of self-control.
Right.
And know your worth.
Right.
So you hear women all the time tell other women, know your worth, know your worth, know your worth. But how often do you hear a man tell another man, know your worth?
Not very often.
Never. You never hear.
Not very often.
You know, and that's why a lot of guys go through life lacking the fundamentals of manhood. One of the first fundamentals is knowing your worth.
You know, that's very good, because even as a boy, whether from older men or older women, just you know, people who I looked up to in general, I didn't often hear know your worth. I would hear that said to my female cousins. I would hear that said to, you know, them amongst each other, to aunts, uncles, aunts, mothers, grandmothers, you know, and other female relatives. But the boys weren't taught that same self-love, or to value themselves in that same sense. You know?
Not only that, the most depressing place to go is child support court.
I've never been, but I heard stories
all the time. You hold all the power.
Right.
This is how I gotta say it, and I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this. You are giving away everything when you choose the wrong person.
I agree.
You give away your legacy, your livelihood, your bank account, your everything when you don't know your self-worth.
Right.
When you don't go through life with your core principles
right.
of building a legacy, not only for you, not only for your seeds, but the people that's coming behind you.
Right.
You are, I can't say this on TV what I want to say. You know what I'm saying? Because it's a haymaker.
You're absolutely going down the route of, on some level, of what's called evolutionary psychology, right, or social psychology. So that is, so far as from the man side, so men, the way our minds work is that we compartmentalize, right? So which means that certain thoughts and categories are in separate boxes, and those boxes don't touch, right? So we can recognize as a woman as beautiful, but that doesn't necessarily mean she has a great personality.
Exactly.
And we recognize a woman that has a great personality. I love hanging out with her, but I just don't want to see her nude. Right. And so those things don't overlap. So as a man, what we're looking for is as far as relationships are concerned, we're looking for a lady who can cover both those boxes. I enjoy who she is as a person. I find her to be, she's physically attractive.
Exactly.
Right. So, and a lot of times, men, we have these conversations and we act like that attraction part shouldn't exist, but that's not. Has that ever changed in the history of mankind?
Never.
No, that's always been a thing, and it's not going to change. So trying to change that is definitely wasting everyone's time. You know what I mean? And so, but we shouldn't overvalue that, because it is important, but it's not special.
Right.
Right. Because
it's important, but it's not important.
Right.
Because I could care less. She could be in a wheelchair, an amputee, a cancer patient with 3 weeks to live. If she got my back, that's the woman I'm gonna be with.
Right. And
I could care less how she built.
And here's the thing too. Although what I said makes men sound shallow, they're not, because the studies have shown that men find about 80% of women attractive.
Yes.
Now, the question I would pose to a man is that if this woman if you had a daughter with her, do you want her to be the example of womanhood to your daughter? And if that answer is not yes, that's not the woman you should be with long term.
Not only that, but we need to teach guys the same way women teach other women. Do not date the idea of a woman.
Right.
Do not date who she can be. That's the problem that a lot of men fall victimized to. You know what I'm saying? You can't do that. It's like hope. I heard Dick Gregory, recipes to Dick Gregory. Dick Gregory said hope is delayed disappointment. You know, you don't go through life hoping for nothing.
Right.
You know, so at the end of the day, a lot of guys just need to ask themselves these same questions. You know, what am I worth?
Right.
You know, who am I? You know, where do I want to see myself in 3 to 5 years?
Right.
You know, what's my end goal? You know, and if that woman that you seeking can't coexist with that, that's not the person you need to be with.
Right.
But
right.
at the same time, you need to be what you are seeking.
Right.
You know, and if you are not that, you have no business seeking that woman.
So it also sounds like that the man needs to know who he is first.
Exactly.
You know, even in any kind of if I have any success with ladies, and it's not because, oh, Mel, you know, you can have, you know, a silver tongue. No, it's because I know myself well enough to know what personality types fit me. So it may seem like I just have, you know, I may just have a lot of, you know, friends or what. No, I just know what characters fit my character, and I just focus on that. So it's not really a lot. It is just precision.
Not only that, it's so simple to me. You breed with who had your back.
Right.
At the end of the day.
Right.
And you could tell a woman who have your back.
Right.
I don't have to explain what that is. You either know what that is or you don't.
Right.
You know, do she have my back? Analyze that. What does that mean to you?
Right.
Can she coexist with your principles? Do you coexist to your principles?
Right.
Do she hold you accountable? Do you hold yourself accountable? And that's what a lot of men like at holding themselves accountable. It's so easy to come home and complain to your woman. It's so easy to go out there in the street and get a side chick. It's so easy to do that because the side chick don't have the burden of living with you on a day-to-day basis. Your woman do.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So you need to have some type of integrity, and my favorite word, diligence, to that lady.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Because you have a responsibility to her, not physically, not financially, but spiritually.
Right.
Emotionally.
Right.
Psychologically.
Psychologically.
Thank you, my
I
brother.
got you. I got you. You know, I had a conversation with a friend a few months ago.
Right.
And we were discussing, a female friend of mine, and we were discussing as far as depending upon what kind of person you are, what kind of woman you need, like what we're doing now. And I gave this idea or this analogy of myself being like a boxer, right? And in each round I'm fighting my opponent is just life. You know, I'm in the world. I'm every round. You know what I mean? I'm giving, I'm taking too.
I feel you
what
on that.
what I would need is just to make it personalized. What I would need in a lady is a ring woman. I need a woman who, when I at the end of each round, ding, 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 go back to my corner, somebody to be my cut woman, you know what I mean? And at the same time, to see what maybe I don't see. Okay, right there, you need to look out for that left hook because he got you twice. You see what I'm saying?
Right.
And then back into the fight. Now, some men aren't the boxer type. Maybe some men, maybe they're the ring man. I don't know. I just know that's not me. I'm the fighter. And so I said, I know that I would not link up well as far as in a personal relationship with another fighter.
And you know what type of woman that is?
Right.
That's the integrous woman.
Right.
That's the woman of integrity. That's the woman of substance.
Right.
That can see what you see.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So long story short, I have a woman like that. I have a woman that sees almost into the future sometimes. You know, not saying that she molds life for me, but let's say I'm at a brick wall.
Right.
My woman know how to navigate me through that brick wall, under that brick wall, around that brick wall.
Or he can even identify the weak spots in that brick wall and say, punch there.
Exactly.
Boom.
You know what
there
I'm
you go.
saying?
And then the wall crumbles.
Exactly.
You know, so yeah.
So I think it's very important for guys to, in order for you to interact with that woman, you have to be that. You have to be something. And I would say, I would even break it down to this fall. You don't have to be perfect.
Right.
Women respect honesty.
Right.
Not to her, to yourself.
Right.
A woman values a man that's walking in his purpose.
Right.
Whatever that is.
Right.
You know, so if you're walking in your purpose and you constantly striving, I don't care if you're striving a millimeter an hour. You know what I'm saying? As long as you're going forward, that's what a woman values.
Right.